Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Indy and today we are here for what is basically a Porsche Supercup race, and this is done through the Bermuda Kart Club, and I was invited to come participate in this. But it's basically everybody's in the GR3 Porsche, and this is actually the second round, or the third round actually at Spa, and we qualified third. We didn't do very much practice, did about a couple rounds of practice, or a couple, like 3 or 4 laps of practice, not much. But we still put it third on the grid. We don't get a very good start, as I can never launch cars on this game. We get a bit of a tap from behind, actually going to get shoved out. Fountain Maker's going to come through here, and we're going to fall down to 5th there as Glock is going to come through. But we're going to fight back to the inside of Fountain Maker, and that's going to become the outside. But we do have the space now to come up through Eau Rouge, and this is a 30-minute feature race is the first race, and there's a 15-minute sprint race after. The sprint race in this one is actually going to be in the wet conditions, but we'll get to that when we get there. But right now, we are chasing Glock down, and as you can see that I was relatively close in pace to Retro 24 and Fusions, who have already pulled out a bit of a lead, as lost some time falling back a couple positions. Kind of did like a Botas there on the start and just lost positions, and slower car here. We're going to go to the inside of Glock. He's going to give us the space. We're going to try and hug it on the inside, avoid any contact, maybe a slight rub there as he was trying to pinch us down to the inside, but we are going to make the move stick, and that is going to be third place here on lap number 1, and we're going to see if we can run down Retcher and Fusions as they continue to battle for the lead of this race early. And the strategy here is you have to use the medium and the hard tire, but the hard tire is just so slow that we are actually going to end up pitting twice and only using the hard tire for 1 lap. But right now we actually have caught up here on lap number 3. They've been battling. We've actually been running clean, and we're right on to Fusions. We're going to maybe look to the outside. He's going to cover off the move. Bit of defensive driving there. No contact though, and we are just going to try and make up some more places here, seeing what can go on Fusions, as he has a 1.2 second penalty, as the penalty system that was in place was a lot of people were getting penalties at the top of Eau Rouge just for using the curbs, and then down here you could get a penalty for using the curbs wrongly. We actually hit the bollard there, and that's gonna push us out wide and not the best exit through No Name corner. So we are gonna skip ahead some more here onto lap number 4 now, and we're coming down to the final parts of the track. We get a nice little run on Fusions. We're going to look to the outside. Is he going to cover it off? He's going to leave us a space now. He does give us a bit of a fade over there, but he's ghosting, so we could have maybe drove through him, but not going to be able to pull off the move. But right now, the top 3 are very close in this one, and there's a pretty sizable gap back to Windspeed, who is up into 4th place, but he's actually going to pit early here. And the goal here was just to run the mediums as long as you could, and then come in for fuel and the hard tire for just 1 lap, and then put the mediums back on, which is the strategy we're going to go with. We're not actually sure of the strategy because we did not do any practice, so we made a big mistake there, and that's going to cost us. But going back to what I was saying, we did not do any practice on the hard tire, so I was not actually sure how much slower it was than the medium, but it does turn out to be much slower than I was expecting. So we are gonna do the 2-stop strategy. But here, skipping ahead on to lap number 5, they are still battling. Fusion's actually up into the lead now as he's gotten by Retcher. There's some contact there, and that's gonna allow us to close back up once again. So these two just absolutely having a knockout battle as Fusion's onto the lead here. Retcher's gonna maybe look for a move going into turn 1, and he's going to look to the inside, and he's actually going to have the inside and make a nice clean move there, and that's going to put him up into the lead as we come down towards Radeon and Eau Rouge. And we are going to see if we can maybe get into this fight, as we're going to have a big tow here, as actually downshifting through Eau Rouge on these mediums. There was not as much grip as I was expecting, and then with BOP off, these Porsches are very quick. But we are right behind him here in the draft. Maybe going to look for Fusions as Retcher still holding on to the lead. Fusions doing a bit of defending, a late move there from Retcher, and Fusions is still going to make it stick around the outside. So an excellent pass for the lead here, as we are getting to witness a very good battle here for the lead of the race early on here at Spa, as we're on lap 6 now. So skipping ahead on to lap number 7, we are low on fuel, and we are going to have to dive into the pits at the end of this one. Fusions actually pitted the lap before, so he was not getting as great a fuel mileage as me and Wrencher were. As we're going to come into the pits now, and we have just 1% more than Wrencher, so we're going to put on the hard tires now, and going to do our one lap, put in 94% of fuel. Probably should have just fueled it up enough to do one lap and put the rest of the fuel in later, so I was driving around on less, but it probably might have worked out better. But in the moment, I was actually, at the time, I was thinking you just do the one lap, or we don't just do the one lap on the hard tire, and we actually just use it for the rest of the race, is why I put that much fuel in. But then I realized that that is not going to work out. So coming into the pits at the end of lap number 8 for the second time, and we're going to put the medium tires back on our blue and white Porsche 911 RSR. So sitting in the pits not very long, actually added 0 fuel, and may come back to bite us, as we probably should have added maybe a couple percentage of fuel there, so we didn't have to fuel save, as we are going to have to fuel save now. But we come out in second place behind Fusions. Wrencher is actually really nowhere to be found here. We are going to skip ahead to lap 16, and we have a penalty here, and Wrencher did run us down, so it's really a 3-car fight for the lead here with just 1 lap to go. We are fuel saving down the Camel Straight, and that's going to allow Wrencher an easy pass, and he's going to go by Fusions as well. So right now here, coming on to the white flag lap, and there's a bit of confusion there as Fusions goes in way too deep and actually passes him cutting the corner, but all 3 of us with penalties now, and you can see it was just from abusing the curbs in the wrong spots. So we're gonna have to try and kill that 5-second penalty in just over a lap, and a bit of accidental contact there with Fusions, as he did ghost and unghosted at the wrong time, but still coming down into these corners. Wrencher, who has more fuel than we do, is starting to pull away, as he's not having to fuel save, as we are having to fuel save quite heavily here, trying to just hang on to the podium, as we have a huge gap back to Glock, who's found his way back up into 4th, followed by Guy Mafia. But Fusions is going to get way loose there, and we're going to have a shot at him here, as we're going to get the run off the corner side by side. We're going to have the outside into this right-hander. He's going to squeeze us off. We're going to try and give him the space, and we're not going to be able to pull it off around the outside of there. But now coming down through this right-hander and in the draft behind Fusion, see if we can close that gap up. Right now, I'm thinking we could just kill the penalty more, but we're not exactly sure how Fusion is on fuel, as he, remember, did pit up 1 lap before we did, and we are way close on fuel. But coming down into here, we have just over a lap of fuel left, with just 1 lap left in this race, and Fusion's with a 7-second penalty, nearly, and he's actually going to have to dive into the pits, so that is going to promote us up into 2nd place. So the fuel strategy worked out okay, but I would have liked to have been able to push at the end of this race and maybe have a shot at the win over Wrenchers. He's definitely starting to check out now, as he does not have the fuel save. So we're skip ahead to the final corner. Fusions is going to come out behind us. Didn't lose too much time in the pits, but we are going to get the 2nd place finish there. And Glock actually not very far behind, so he had a great run. So that is going to be 2nd place in the feature race for us. And Glock is actually going to finish ahead of Fusions because of his penalties. So we got quite lucky there with Fusions off the podium. I actually thought he finished 3rd at the time. I just now noticed that. But as you can see, we finished 2nd. So we are going to skip ahead to the sprint race. And as I said earlier, this one is in the wet, and it is a reverse grid. So 2 things that are going to set off for some chaos here at the start, as you have the faster guys at the back, and it's wet. So that's going to make things extra tricky here. And we are starting 11th out of 12. We have Glock right in front of us, Fusions directly in front of us in line, and we're gonna go green here. And if I can't launch the thing in the dry, what chance do I have to do it in the wet? But actually not a terrible start, but Wrencher gets an absolutely stunning start, and there's a bunch of people off there, and that's gonna put us up a couple positions as Fusions and H2O got into it. H2O actually on the pole had to pull over because he wasn't supposed to be there, but we're going to jump up into 8th place in turn 1, making a nice little move there, as we're side by side with Glock. He's going to back out of it now in the draft with wind speed, and taking it very cautiously through Eau Rouge. Wind speed's going to get, we're going to get super close to making some contact there. Actually don't hit him, but he does run wide, and that's going to promote us up into 6th place here. Now chasing down Dragon Lungs, who's still hanging on into 5th, but we're going to maybe look to the inside of him under braking here. I did 0 practice in the wet, so this is my first time seeing the track in the wet, and we're going to make a nice move on Dragon Lungs, putting us up into 5th place, actually up into 4th there, as Fountain Maker made a mistake, and that is going to be 4th. Wrencher already up into 3rd, Gi Mafia hanging on in 2nd, and Race Bikes and Karts leading it right now here on lap number 1 in the wet. And this is going to be an easy no stop, as we could almost do 15 minutes of fuel in the dry, much less in the wet when you're barely on the power and burning as much fuel. So we're going to skip ahead towards the end of lap 1 here. We actually get a run here on Race Bikes and Karts, who's fallen down into 3rd. So Gi Mafia leading with Wrencher up into 2nd place, but Wrencher's not hanging around. He's going to go to the inside, and he's going to go into the lead. So he may actually check out in this one, as it looks like he's done some practice in the rain. But Race Bikes and Karts going to go deep. We're going to go side by side with him, and Race Bikes and Karts nearly spinning, and that's going to allow us the position here up into 3rd place at the end of lap number 1. So 11th to 3rd is not a bad first lap, but Gi Mafia and Wrencher still having a nice little battle in front. Wrencher is going to have the outside and the better traction, and that's going to be the move made. So skipping ahead one more lap, we have sort of caught onto the back end of Gi Mafia. Fusions has gotten back up into 4th after crashing at the start. He's definitely quicker than us in the rain, and he will be coming eventually. Gi Mafia is going to run wide. We're going to go to the inside, side by side here, and we are going to nearly lose the back end, or we do lose the back end, nearly going into the wall. Kept it off the wall, but we're going to lose a ton of time there. And Wrencher 24 is completely checked out. Unless he has a terrible mistake or something, he's pretty much won this race here very early. So skipping ahead, for later on into lap number 3, you can see Fusions has already caught the back of us, so he is absolutely flying in the wet, and he's going to look to our inside. We run and make a mistake there, and he's actually going to go through, so that is going to be position for Fusions here. He's going to go up into 3rd, and he's going to see if he can dispatch Gi Mafia on the same lap as he got by us. So following him around, skipping ahead towards the end of the lap, and Gi Mafia right there. Wrencher still in the picture as we actually see him there, so he's not pulled out as big of a lead as we thought, but we're going to once again just get on the power too early and hydroplane, and that's going to cost us a ton of time there, as we're actually going to be under attack maybe from Race Bikes and Karts, who was surprisingly close to us coming off that corner after that little mistake. So skipping ahead here onto lap number 5, this is towards the end of the race, and Fusion still has not gotten by Gi Mafia, so he's absolutely defending and doing a pretty good job of it, just knowing where to put his car and not allowing Fusions to go through. And Fusions around the outside is going to see if it's going to pay off, and they're going to go deep into the corner, and Fusions is actually going to go too deep, and that's going to allow us to maybe have a shot back at 3rd place, looking for the podium here. And side by side with Fusions, he's not having any of it, as he's going to go back to the inside here, and we're going to see if we can maybe do the switchback, but not the drive off the corner we would have liked, as we're trying to run a rain line, but it's very hard. I'm not a fan of driving in the rain on this game. We're on the intermediate tires in full wet conditions, because just the intermediates are so much better on this game than the wet tires. So now coming up, and we're going to make a mistake there and lock up and get into the back of Gi Mafia, and that is not what I wanted to do, as we're going to allow Fusions to go, as we have to wait up and allow Gi Mafia back on, which is the right thing to do, as we basically blatantly hit him on accident. It was an accident, it was not intentional, but we are going to allow him to keep the spot. So he's going to run after Fusions, and they're all still there, so still within a chance, but Gi Mafia is going to go way deep here on lap number 6 into turn 1, and that's going to give us the spot. And we are back on the podium here for race number 2, and we're going to see if we can hang on to the spot, as Gi Mafia has been around the same pace as we were on this track in these conditions. So he may actually have a look at us as he's in the slipstream. We're going to pick up a 2nd penalty, so is Gi Mafia. I'm not exactly sure what that was for. I basically just drove over the curbs, but obviously it's abusing track limits, and we're actually going to go purple here. So that was the best first sector, but we completely screw it up here, as we're going to drive wide, and we're actually going to give Guy Mafia the position for the moment, and we are going to get the drive around the outside and get it back, but we completely missed that corner and outbroke ourselves. So we're actually going to go off board here, and Guy Mafia is going to go up into third place. We're going to do the switchback, and we're going to find ourselves back in the podium, but this is the last lap of the race, and this is going to be a pretty good fight here, coming down to the wire here for the final podium spot in the rain at Spa. So right there, Fusions has kind of skirted away out of the picture, but just trying to hang on into third, and not a great line through there, trying to hang it around the outside, miss the apex by a couple hundred feet, or a couple feet, but Guy Mafia still right on top of us here. Where I'm not sure where he's going to be able to find a move. He's running out of track as we're coming over to the second half of the lap. Now coming down this straight, we're going to go into the right-hander and actually getting on the curb, which is probably what you're not supposed to do in the rain, but through the second right-hander, and now just, I think, 3 corners, really only one spot for Guy Mafia to overtake us will be at the chicane if he can get a run on us. The gap's opened up a little bit as we had a pretty good last section of corners, but he is still coming in the draft, and that's going to help him big time here. We have to slow down. He carries way more speed. He's going to go off the track. That's probably going to give him a penalty, but it's not going to matter. He's going to be able, in striking distance, we're going to defend to the inside. He's going to go around the outside, side by side. He's got a half a second penalty, but it's not going to matter as we're side by side off the corner. A bit of contact there, and Guy Mafia is going to lose it almost and saves it, keeps it off the wall. The person behind, Glock behind him, is going to spin, and we are going to hang on to third here in the sprint race. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button and consider subscribing, as I do post content weekly from sim racing and the real world life of racing. And if you liked the video, make sure to hit the like. If you didn't like it, you can dislike it, but I will catch you guys later. Thanks for watching.